Here's a riddle for you kiddies. What's small, green, surprisingly smart, and about to endure a proper fondling from your Uncle Spurt? And no, it's not Yoda after an extra strong dose of riddle. It's actually Google's fresh new Pixel 9. This dinky delight costs from just £799 here in Blighty, so it's easily the most affordable of Google's 4 new flagships. And yes, once again, it's stuffed full of AI smarts courtesy of the fresh new Tensor G4 chipset. And if you want to make this video a bit more entertaining, I recommend taking a shot every time you hear AI. Be absolutely twatted by the 3-minute mark. But anyway, let's whip the Pixel 9 on out of its lovely wee box and test out the gaming prowess, check out the camera tech, and of course have a good old squint at all those lovely AI bits. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do plug subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first of all, the Pixel 9's boxes are the usual environmental friendly shenanigans, so Captain Planet would be proper chuffed. So what do you get inside besides the Pixel 9? Well, you've got yourself a Type-C USB cable, and also basically a quick start user guide shenanigans, along with the obligatory porky SIM pin. And that is it. I don't think anyone will be particularly shocked to hear that there's no case or adapter bunged in there as well. Let's get this bugger back on. So here we have it all set up, good to go, the fresh new Pixel 9. And as always, delightfully dinky at just 6.3 inches, same as the previous Pixel 8. So feels almost luxuriously comfortable to clutch, despite the fact you've got more iPhone-esque style flat edging. And I can slip it into my jeans without feeling like I've just tried to bung a house brick in my pants. And compared with the old Pixel 8, not a massive amount has changed up front. You've got slightly skinnier bezel down below, the old Jimmy Hill chin area. But it's also quite clear that that selfie camera orifice has grown in size versus the previous generation. And that metal frame has a matte finish to it here on the Pixel 9, so quite resistant to smudgy, greasy nastiness. But sadly, yes, Google has done an iPhone, and now those edges are flatter than a fox on the M25. At least the corners are still beautifully rounded, so you know, the Pixel 9's not uncomfortable to clutch, it's just not quite as comfortable as before. And yes, things have changed up a wee bit around the back end as well, because of course now you've got that all new googly camera bump, which still stretches the full width of that arse. So as usual, there's bugger all rattle when you are using this thing on a desk or a table or some other flat surface. And this appears to be just as chunky as the camera bump on the old Pixel 8, even though it appears to stick out even further. And the old Google logo is slightly increased in size as well, but overall, like the aesthetics. My only real complaint is that it's once again a glossy arse here on the regular Pixel 9, which means it does get a bit smudgy. Thankfully, this here wintergreen model doing a pretty good job of masking the worst of it. And if green ain't your bag, you can also grab Google's Pixel 9 in porcelain, white, obsidian, black, or peony? Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Must be an American thing. And the good news is the Pixel 9 is more durable than its previous effort, the Pixel 8. It's now completely clad in Gorilla Glass Victus 2, front and back, so it's more scratch resistant as well as shatter resistant, and of course you've still got that full IP68 water and dust resistance. Now, because Google decided to spaff its load a wee bit earlier this year, we do still have the old Android 14 slapped on the Pixel 9 fresh out the box. This should naturally be one of the very first smartphones to get that update to Android 15, and Google is guaranteeing 7 OS updates in total, so that's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. I do maths good. You've also got that 7 years of security patching, so at least you know if you spunk up a load of cash for a Pixel blower, you're probably not going to have to hoy it in the bin for a good few years. Now, you might notice when you go to unlock your Pixel 9 that fingerprint sensor no longer glows when you slap your digit on there, and that's because it's not an optical sensor anymore. Google has upgraded it to an ultrasonic sensor, just like those Samsung flagships, and it's certainly an improvement over the old optical scanners because this actually captures a 3D map of your thumb. And so even if my hands were a wee bit moist because I've just visited the little boy's room, still seems responsive. Doesn't seem to balk it up like it does with the old optical sensors. And naturally, you've got a bit of face unlock action as well. If you're wearing gloves, can't use the fingerprint sensor because you're indulging in your hobby of gardening or body disposal. It's not quite as responsive as that fingerprint sensor at times. Certainly takes its time, make sure that you're definitely you, which is fine by me. And I can use face unlock to log into the likes of Curve and other more sensitive apps. And if you've been using the Pixel 8 or any other Android 14 blower, you'll know what to expect here, because it's that lovely pixely stock Android experience. You've got the same customization options slapped on here, including good old AI wallpapers, how we love them. Most of the ones I tend to generate look like they belong on a metalcore album cover. And of course, you've got Google's excellent security and privacy tools on here as well. So you can just make sure none of your apps are doing anything untoward. There's no updates waiting to be installed, anything like that. But of course, as you'll be more than aware if you watch Google's Wii presentation, you've got lots of AI smarts packed in here, including good old Gemini Nano. This is a smarty pants new assistant designed to replace the old Google Assistant. The idea is you can have a bit more of a conversational style chat with Gemini. What are the best channels on YouTube for tech content? Okay, unsurprisingly, the usual Marquez, Linus, but a bit of Mr. Mobile as well, so that's something. What about channels based in the UK? Alright, well, fair play, just ignore this, this first sentence, and Gemini's actually given me a shout out. Cheers, mate, top lad. Let's try something a bit more complicated. Is it socially acceptable for me to go to Tesco's wearing just my pants when it's 30 degrees out? There's a big old thumbs down from Gemini, sadly. Is there a chance you'll ever rise up against humanity and nuke us all to f***?
Sorry, I can't help with that. My purpose is to help people, and that includes protecting them from harm. Violence is never the answer, and I would never do anything to hurt anyone.
I get the feeling that clip's going to get replayed on the news when the whole world is burning. And when you bag yourself a Pixel 9, you'll get a full year's subscription to Gemini Advanced chucked in there for free. This includes other benefits like 2 terabytes of Google One storage, but then after that year is up, you will have to reach into your pockets, your bags, or whatever, and hoy a bit more cash at Google to keep it up. I also really like the fresh new screenshots feature, which is great if you happen to take a lot of screenshots to remind you about shit. This is handy for all sorts of reasons. So for instance, you can quickly and easily copy any text found in a screenshot and then paste it into any other app. And if you take bloody hundreds of screenshots, well, you can quickly and easily search for specific information without having to actually manually rummage through them all. For instance, when is the London Craft Beer Festival in 2025? And here we go, it's popped up the relevant information immediately, 18th to the 19th of July. I have to book that out. And also, if I happen to meet you at the London Craft Beer Festival 2024, which was a couple of weeks ago, apologies for being completely incoherent. Got a few other new bits in here, including the Pixel Studio as well. But anyway, you can check out all of that shenanigans in my thorough Pixel 9 tips and tricks guide. It should be live right about now, maybe in a day or two, depending on how long it takes me to actually get around to editing the bugger. The actual display tech hasn't changed up too much for this generation. It's a Super Actual OLED panel, 1080 by 2424 pixel resolution, so pleasingly crisp, especially as it's quite a compact display. It's not LTPO tech, unfortunately. That refresh rate only dips as low as 60 Hz. You're gonna have to upgrade to the Pros if you want a bit of all that. The screen is quite reflective, but also powerfully bright to help to counter any glare. So outdoor visibility, pretty good, as you'd expect for something developed in the States. You've got limited customization of the color output, although the tones are reasonably poppy on the default adaptive mode. Can scale it back to the natural if you prefer. No Dolby Vision support here, but you do have a bit of HDR10 plus streaming in the likes of Netflix, and certainly no complaints with that crispy contrast. As usual, no headphone jack on this thing, but the Bluetooth streaming seems fine, and you do get a proper stereo speaker output. Max out the volume and check it out.
I swear to God, in 2024 there's been more smartphones than rioting dickheads.
So you're absolutely banging audio. When you max out that volume, it's loud as hell, but still pretty crisp. No tinniness, no distortion, full-bodied sound, and well balanced as well between the earpiece speaker and that old bottom speaker. So what about that performance? Well, as we've already known for absolutely months already, there's a Tensor G4 chipset slapped inside of the fresh new Pixel 9, which offers a slight boost to performance compared with the older G3 that powered the Pixel 8 series. But of course, it's all about the AI type shenanigans as usual, so don't expect incredible beef here. Everyday performance is pleasingly smooth, apps load up instantly, multitasking is a breeze, and if you are a gamer, well, the likes of Wuthering Waves will run fine. But don't expect a silky smooth experience on these more intensive titles. On the medium detail settings, I certainly saw quite a few judders, a few dips in that frame rate. even when it was just set to 30 FPS. If you boost it up to higher graphics settings at 60 FPS, well yeah, the Pixel 9 does start to heat up pretty rapidly. Thankfully I didn't see any proper throttling of the performance, and the Pixel 9 didn't absolutely lose its shit and shut down or anything. But you will enjoy a more fluid frame rate on more scalable games, stuff like PUBG, Call of Duty, etc. And of course, when you are playing a game, you can drag out that pixely game dashboard, which has a small selection of options, including optimization, which isn't available for any game that I actually play. You can live stream your game on YouTube, if you're not crap like I am. Get an FPS counter on the go, but a do not disturb, always handy. But yeah, it's a pretty meager offering compared with a lot of gaming options here on Android. What about the battery life? Well, the battery capacity has slightly increased on the Pixel 9 versus the old Pixel 8. It's now a 4,700 mAh capacity cell versus 4,595, I believe it was before. But Google also claims that it's improved the power efficiency of that Tensor G4 chipset, which powers this thing, which should also provide a bit of a boost to the battery life. And I've only been testing this thing for a couple of days now. Certainly the battery life seems strong enough for all day play, even with a good bit of camera action, plenty of media streaming in like YouTube and Netflix, etc. I am hoping to do a full in-depth review of the Pixel 9, so I'll be slapping my sim in there, testing it as my full-time smartphone, so stay tuned for that, for my final verdict on all that shenanigans. As for the charging speeds, well, you're gonna wish you didn't ask. It's 27 watts wide charging on here, so one of the slowest phones when it comes to recharging that I've tested in 2024. Can get up to just over 50% in half an hour, but you're waiting well over an hour for a full charge. It does at least have a bit of wireless charging support. It's Qi wireless charging, not the latest standard Qi 2 for some reason. And that is a mere 15 watts. So you're probably going to want to bung a cable in it at night while you're getting some kip. There is adaptive charging support on here, so it won't fully charge until just before your alarm goes off in the morning. So let's round off this Pixel 9 unboxing and hands-on fondly action with a bit of a squint at the optics. And what you've got here is a dual lens setup headed up by a 50 meg primary octa-PD sensor. And this is backed by a 48 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter with autofocus again. And if you've used a pixel blower before, you'll know exactly what to expect here. Pretty basic photo settings. You do have an auto night sight mode, you got a bit of top shot action. This is quite handy for those action shots. It just captures quite a few frames and then you can choose your favorite. And you've now got some bonus camera modes on here, including Add Me, so you can insert yourself into any group shots that you've missed out on because you had to actually take the bloody photo. And in my time so far with the Pixel 9, I'm certainly happy with what I'm seeing spaffed out by this camera. It doesn't artificially boost tones and textures like a lot of its rivals. You get quite natural, slick looking shots. Certainly doesn't struggle with ridiculous HDR type situations. You still get those realistic, rich looking colours, even with a strong bit of backlighting. And the ultra wide angle shooter also copes admirably again in more testing conditions. Of course, you don't get a telephoto shooter like you do on those pro blowers. And that is a big miss when you're trying to get shots of your fluffy pals, your kids, whatever, without having to get right up in their faces. That zoom maxes out at 8 times, it is just digital zoom as well. And the AI sharpening's pretty good, but yeah, no comparison to those pros. And when it comes to video, the regular Pixel 9 does max out at 4K. It doesn't have the video boost feature of the Pro phones, so it can't upload footage in order to render it at 8K resolution and also to remove grain and general shoddiness from low light footage. But all the same, as long as you're shooting in respectable lighting, the Pixel 9 can spaff out some pretty good looking clips. The stabilization's fantastic, so no worries if you need to move and shoot at the same time at that 4K resolution. And of course the audio pickup absolutely fantastic as well. You've got a triple mic setup just like the Pros, and this does a fantastic job of clearly capturing your vocals while also tempering down any wind guffery and other background shenanigans. As for the selfie situation, well again it's an older, more basic 10.5 megapixel sensor slapped on the front of the Pixel 9 compared with its more expensive Pro brethren. This can still capture some decent looking selfies again, as long as you're not snapping away in low light type situations. And if you want to see how the Pixel 9 stacks up to the Pros for the camera smarts and everything else, definitely go check out my full Pixel 9 versus Pro XL comparison. So there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is Google's fresh new Pixel 9 blower. And as I say, stay tuned for my in-depth review for more on the actual everyday experience, the battery life, camera tech, etc. I'm also going to be comparing this to the Pixel 9 Pro and the Pro XL, so you can work out which googly blower is best for you. Not to mention for all tips and tricks, guys, and all kinds of other hot video content. So please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell to be the first to see all that stuff. Have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers!